Remember, please hit like and subscribe for me. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go. Hi, everyone. Today is Tuesday, July the 29th. My name is Anne-Marie Band. I'm like, wait, what do I say next? My name is Anne-Marie Band, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. Benzinga, as you know, is a great resource for financial news as well as up-to-the-minute tickers and such. And today, as always, we are looking at the charts created by TrendSpider, and we have highlighted Menther Q's call walls and GEX levels so that we can see where the option traders are positioned for winning or potentially losing. So let's take a look at the ES. Today's opening range, high 6,429, low 6,423.25. So why do I remind you of this? Because the opening range high and the opening range low and the price action around that in the pre-market gives you a pretty good idea of what price action is going to do in the near term and potentially what it might do relative to the next day. As we notice, we went right up into the low of yesterday's opening range and we have rejected it. We are sitting above the value area high. That's 6,438. So what's this telling us? Well, people are buying the dip. Yes, we know that. Tuesday's volatility is tighter than Wednesday's volatility. So they're expecting, a little bit of a range-based formation, but we sit clearly inside of Monday's range, and that means it's going to be a bit choppy in there. So what's the ideal thing to do? Wait for the area that defines the best risk reward for what we're looking at. So that's going to be old resistance that becomes support, that becomes resistance again, that becomes support. And that happens to coincide with 6,421. That was the area that I was looking at yesterday for the long action. It did break, but came into the trend line and held it. So what does this tell us? If we are listening to this and we go, ooh, Anne-Marie said to go long at 6,421, it stopped me out. Now my combine's gone, or la, 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 la. Okay? You can blame me for anything. I'm happy to take the blame for that, except it's not my fault. It's what we have to do once we get there. Now, I did the same thing here. I said, you know what? I'm going to give this a go at 6,421. What happened is that the bounce could not get up over, guess what? The prior day's close. So what do we need to have on our charts? Where did we close? Where did we open? That's very, very important for price action. And so at that point, I said, you know what? Kind of sticky. I'm going to get out. So I waited again, and I don't like trading at 3 o'clock. My brain is very tired by then, so I skipped the trade. But pay attention when you get into a position where the traders are telling you, you know what? I do not have the strength to press higher. And so here's what we're looking at this morning. Higher lows, higher highs. What are we doing? We're inside the range of the prior day. So we could go all the way up to here at 64.55, or we could come all the way down to here at 64.09. I want you to guess which one I'm going to wait for. Yeah, 64.09. You might go, but Anne-Marie, why can't I trade in between all this mess? Well, you can, but it's about relative risk and where you think the charts are going. Listen, we are clearly buying the dips. Could you take a long at 6,434? Absolutely. Where would you take your profit? Up here, where everybody's been selling. Right? Where's your edge if you just go, I'm going to hold it because it's going up? Really? What data are you using to make that decision? You have to realize that the only way we become consistent in this business is by making data-driven observations conform to what we are doing in the process. Mic drop. I should be gone by now and let you guys figure everything else out. But that is critical. That's the point of critical mass, right? Above, you make money. Below, you lose money. So learn to say, just because I can trade that way doesn't mean I should. Okay? Liberty can be a bad thing. For those of us as believers, we know this, right? We can do anything we want, except if we do it, there's always a consequence. And that's the same in trading. All right? It's the same in trading. Okay. Where do we end up going today? Could be top of the box, 6,428. I'm not going to play around there unless I'm scalping. It is the implied vol from Monday. Below here would be the short action event volatility expressions, meaning these are all put levels people have sold. Put wall looks like about 6,396 Wednesday's vol, which we could get there. We could get there. Sticky bits, dips or buys. I'm going to look for 6,408. If it takes all day to get there, that's going to be sucky. But I'm okay with looking at that range for dip buying because it is very clear to me that nothing is breaking just yet. There's a reckoning coming, to be sure, but it's not here. And it's not now, in my estimation. All right, let's take a look at the NQ. Oh, isn't this interesting? Opening range candlestick inside of the opening range candle of the day before. Now, this is fairly interesting. We had it 2 days before, right? And see the megaphone? High, low, higher high, right? So opening megaphone event, but still holding upside pressure. If we advance this trend line, we have a move up into value area high. Let's take a look at what that range is this morning. High, 23,531. Low, 23,503. What did the traders do? Tried to dance up at the top. Notice, value area high became very, very important. Also, opening tick of the prior day, right? That's the opening range right there. That's the candle, but this open of this candlestick, 23,520, that's where all the traders fought, and then they broke out. This is some kind of news, 3 a.m. news, but now we're in inventory accumulation again. Where is Monday's vol? We're sitting inside of these zones. Monday's implied vol is 23,626. Tuesday's implied vol is 23,682. Okay, tips or buys. We've got more earnings coming along the range. And so what do I want to look for? I want to see where the call resistance holds here at 23,500. Could I trade for 100 points to the south? Yes, but it would be counter trend, and chances are I'd be sitting on the wrong side of it. Why? Because the traders keep holding higher lows. They absolutely do. They have to reverse this formation before I can look at it and go, you know what? I think that's going to be a short that won't waste my time. Right? And so far, nada. I'm holding the sledge. 23,577. If it breaks there, I'm looking for a failed bounce that says, all right, you can rotate down. If not, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to sit tight. I'm going to wait. Again, just because you can take a trade doesn't mean you should. Call wall, 23,540. Put wall, that's very interesting, 23,474. Look at the tight compression here. Wow. The traders are thinking today is going to be nothing but a slop fest. We'll see. The call wall has already been broken pre-market. And so they better have a rotation or they are going to have a massive squeeze. So I expect it to rotate down, but maybe not without rotating up first. That's very interesting. Let's go to the YM. I was talking to one of the traders yesterday. Her name's Beth. Great gal, Amazing gal. She's helped me tremendously, especially with the materials for the new VIP program. Just phenomenal. But she said, hey, I only look at 2 of these setups a day. Otherwise, I get myself wound up. And so I thought, you know what? That's a pretty good idea. Pick a couple. I know a few of you do this because I do get notes in my DM from Discord. And so that's absolutely fantastic. Somebody was watching gold yesterday. Somebody was watching oil yesterday. It's really great. I'm so happy to hear it. Let's take a look at the YM. What do we have going on? Opening range. High, 45,042. Low, 45,000 on the nose. So look at this. It breaks below and it breaks above. But we're sitting inside of yesterday's formation. And indeed, that formation had the majority of its price action sitting inside this formation from July 24th. So this is very range bound. We are looking for price action that will ultimately break above or below. Okay? Right now, we buy the dips, 44,865. Looks like a great dip. The volume weighted average price for this region is 44,900, right? Look at this opening range and how important it was to yesterday's. Good grief, Sally. Okay, look at this. Overnight, last night, came to the top of the range, tested in, broke out. So we know that's a floor of support. Yesterday's trading, it came to the bottom of the opening range and held support. So what do we notice? Low, higher low, higher low. At the same time, we've got these peaks and valleys. But clearly the traders are saying, you know, I realize the risk, but I'm buying the dip. And that is what they continue to do. They continue to buy the dip. So where does that look like? Could be a higher low at the top of 44,984. But the dips are buying zones. Now, if we lose 44,975, we're very likely to get back to the VWAP, or the volume weighted average price. And then we've got value area low to look at. So be very careful going along if you lose that 44,975 area. Let's go to micro Bitcoin. This one's been stuck in the weeds for a hot minute, right? Look at the range. In general, dips getting bought in the near term. Overall, what is this? Yeah, garbage. Garbage. Garbage trading. So listen, if you're cool with garbage trading and you like the quick snap trade, you got it. It's fantastic. If you don't, wait for the edges. Me, I'm still in this. My thought was, hey, if we don't immediately recapture 118,900, I'm getting out of here, right? And of course, this is one of my other portfolios because we can't trade and hold things overnight in Top Step, but this is going okay, right? We are inside of yesterday's range. So what are we looking for? Going to the top of yesterday's range. Let's say we can't do it because we cannot get up over the low of yesterday's opening range. See, we spent 4 hours trying to get up there, but we're still making higher lows. Still making higher lows. So it's telling us the traders have not given up. That being said, for somebody that hates trend lines, I sure have been drawing a lot of them lately. We really do not want it to get below 118,950. Okay? The volume weighted average price, that's 118,464. Point of control, right at 119,000. It's got to hold this range, or else the traders are going to send us back down to 116,000. Where's the edge of this formation? I want to see if it heads back to 121,000. What am I going to do there? I'm going to cover. I don't care if it runs off the rails for another $10,000 before it comes back and confirms. I am not staying in this trade up over this ledge. We literally have been in this trading ledge. Well, I have July 14 here, but the edge really begins July 10, right? Everybody's thinking, ooh, we're going to the moon. I don't know. Let's hang out here for a bit. Dip's probably going to be bought. Call wall, 120,000 even. Put wall all the way down at 115,000. Gap still engaged. There's no gap fill event here. Price action still holding. I would not be surprised to see a gap fill event, at which point I'm going to try and buy it again. Opening range candle. Did I even do this? Opening range candle. High, 119,215. Low, 118,825. Traders caught in the range. Wait for the bottom or wait for the top. Getting caught in the middle here will expand your risk. Don't do it. Don't do it. Look, you can do anything you want to. You know that. I'm just saying, you got to have an edge. Just because it's there doesn't mean you have to trade it, right? Big pictures tell better stories. Okay, here we are looking at oil. Tight opening range formation, broke both sides of it. 67.09, $67.09. $66.98 on the low. So very, very tight. Ultimately, where are we sitting right this moment? Inside yesterday's range. Every single chart we've looked at essentially is inside of yesterday's range. Volatility is a little bit compressed today, right? Dips clearly buys. If we expand the formation, we know that oil is in a bit of a mosh pit, right? Very sideways. Have no clue what's going on here. None whatsoever. Okay? None whatsoever. So, what are we staring down? Call wall all the way up at 67.27. I was talking to somebody yesterday and I said, hey, I'm glad you looked at oil. It came right into Thursday's, check this out. It came right into Thursday's volatility lane and collapsed and then recovered. So what are we staring down? Old resistance, new support. What does that tell us? They're buying the dips. Where have they stopped buying the dips? Well, they really stopped buying the dips until all the way up here, right? This first GEX level is $68. So it could be that that's where price action is going. However, I'm going to look for $66.50 to consider the long. Look at momentum. Super sideways. We can go in either direction here. So I'm going to trade the base of the range where everybody was selling, but now they're buying, and I'm going to try and get a trade there, right? Range, not waiting for it to break out, not waiting for it to break down. If I take a short up at the top here, I'm just going to trade the range. And that's what we're staring down, range-based trading in oil. Now, if we lose 66.50, value area high is $66. Value area low, $64.85. Volume weighted average price, $65.78. So we could go anywhere in this space. Would I consider a short at the loss of 66.50? Potentially. What I'd want to see is the loss of the area, the bounce into the framework, and then the loss of the new relative low. And then I will jump in and take that opportunity. Gold. I also got a very nice note from a trader that said, oh my gosh, gold, it went right where we thought it would. Yep. That wasn't your voice. That was my excited voice saying, wow, this is great. So excited that so many of them moved in the right space. Look at the double bottoming formation here. And it was in a grind all day. But really, if you watched your size and you held the floor of support, literally this area at 3,316 was a great zone Why? It was the open of the Globex, right? 3,320 is actually it, and that ended up being a nice little target. They're still arguing around that range, but buying the dip. So here's the thing. Are they going to keep buying the dip here? I have no idea. It's very compressed, but I will say this. If we lose 3,300 today, we're going to head down into these lower vol events. And so we want to look for a failed breakdown. What does that look like? Here is, if we want to go long, that is. Here is a breakdown that holds, right? It bounces, comes back, double bottoms, tries to hold here, and then collapses. And then on the first bounce, it can't even get 50% of that candlestick. Does that mean you have to pay attention? You betcha. That's why I do a faceplant in the bed every night. Okay? Paying attention uses a lot of mental energy. And what you want to see is the price action hold above a region if you're going to take a long. Otherwise, the chart's going to drop off the rail. So this is a zone of extreme importance. It also is the put wall, right? Traders need to get it back up over this range. I suspect they will, but we could have a very noisy, grinding day. We are actually, not only are we inside yesterday's range, we're inside the opening candle of yesterday's range. Super important. Opening range high, 3,313. Opening range low, 3,308. That's going to be the range to watch. I like using yesterday's low as the floor of support and watching for the failure to hold that level to go short or potentially to take a long in that frame. All right, let's take a look lastly at SPY. SPY, like everyone else, sitting inside of the opening range formation in general and inside of yesterday's range. Could be very, very annoying price action today simply because we're waiting on the Fed. We've got do we have PCE today? Wait a second. Let's see what happens today. FOMC begins, international trade, wholesale inventories, Case-Shiller, home price index, I hear that's at an all-time high, consumer confidence at 10. Could be the reason that we're being so choppy this morning because we're waiting on all of that. Listen, deep dips or buys. Wait for the dips. Wait for the dips and enter. If you're saying to yourself, well, if the dips are coming, why can't I short? You can do anything you want. It's all about the risk, what you feel about price action, and then the proof's in the pudding, right? If your portfolio is trending down and you want it to be trending up, something's got to change. That's usually you, right? I mean, that's how I look at myself. What are you doing, woman? Is something I say to myself when things aren't moving the way I think they ought to. All right? All right, that's enough. That's enough, lady. I'll see you guys on the streams. Take care.